Hey guys, this is Blake from Blake's Sanctum, retro site for retro games. Subscribe.
Welcome to a special bonus episode in my website and video series covering classic civilization genre games like Colonization, Master of Magic, Test of Time, Alpha Centauri, Call to Power, and of course the Civ series itself. In these bonus videos, I'll be touring some of the awesome fan games and my favourite scenarios and mods for all these games, as well as my own personal mods, while also trying to sneakily play as the Barbarians via hacks or cheats. In my main series, I show you how to play these great old games in HD using either special versions, tricks or mods. Check out the playlist link up top or in the video description and comments below to see the other episodes.
Hey everybody, welcome to another special bonus Civ 2 episode. Wait a sec, that's not the Civ 2 intro. And hang on, that's not the Civ 2 main menu, or the Heroes of Might and Magic one either. It's like some weird hybrid monster of the two. What's he done? How's he done it? Let's find out, because in this video I'm going to show you guys the Civ 2 Heroes of Might and Magic 2 mod. I'll give you guys some background on previous Civ Heroes of Might and Magic mods and how this mod came to be, and then I'm going to take you guys on a big tour of the mod showcasing all the crazy stuff we did as we changed almost everything. And I'll give you guys a quick peek at our up and coming HoMM1 Addon pack and our future plans. So if you want to skip to any of these parts, I'll put chapter time skip links in the video description below. Now this video is not only the big final release announcement for our Civ 2 Heroes of Might and Magic 2 mod, the largest Civ 2 MGE total conversion mod ever made, but this video is also a bonus episode to my big main Civ 2 and HD tour episode that's part of a huge civilization video series and website tribute looking at how to play classic Civ games and spin-offs in HD and showcasing some of the best looking total conversion scenarios and mods out there for them. So check out the playlist link below in the video description if you're a big classic Civ fan and want to see these great old games looking better than ever. Now I realize the largest Civ 2 mod ever is a big statement, but no one has ever changed as much content in Civ 2 MG as this mod does. As we have changed nearly everything that we could get our hands on, almost all the graphics, the music, the sounds, and even all the videos. So in this video, I'm going to go through each of the crazy changes we made, showing you all the best stuff. Now I'm a huge Heroes of Might and Magic fan, so much so that I have a website tribute to that series too. And as a boy playing the Heroes games, I'd always dreamed of being able to construct and colonize my own castles and cities and work the lands around them just like in Civ, and I wished for that hybrid experience between the two. Obviously we sort of got that in Master of Magic, and even more so in the Age of Wonders series, both of which I loved playing and cover on my website too. However, I always wanted a true Civ and Heroes hybrid and hoped that someone would make a Civ 2 Heroes mod. Others asked for it too on various forums over the years, including Civ Fanatic's owner Thunderful, but sadly it just never happened. The closest we got was when Super Civ 2 modder St. Leo created his cool dual Europe scenario using Heroes 3 and Age of Wonders assets. However, that was it. A true Heroes of Might and Magic scenario for Civ 2 just never happened. However, a few years ago, a super talented Civ 3 modder named Tom2050 made a Heroes of Might and Magic 3 mod for Civ 3. That's just amazing, and I cannot wait to play a proper game of it and do a big video on it later in this series. And I was so inspired by Tom's amazing work that I started thinking, wouldn't it be cool to do a Heroes 2 scenario for Civ 2 to complement it and sort of act as a prequel? However, it's like 20 years too late and I figured no one would care. But then just by chance, I found a forum thread by a German fellow named MetroPolis talking about also wanting to make a Heroes 2 mod for Civ 2, but not getting much interest. So I contacted him, we got talking, realized that we had so many similar and cool ideas that we just decided to do it anyway for the hell of it. But even then, we could not have done all the crazy things we did without help from other awesome Civilization and Heroes of Might and Magic community members and modders like Nighttime, who gave us a new diplomacy screen background from his medieval Millennium Test of Time mod. It reminded me of the Heroes 2 campaign selection screen. Then there was Matt Dempsey, who created a dragon breeding spaceship construction replacement template. There was God Rage at Lands of Enroth, who painstakingly created transparent PNG images of all the Heroes 2 graphics assets for his gorgeous website and forums. Then there was Eugene and the Palm Kingdoms team for lending us some custom graphics from their gorgeous Heroes 2-like game called Palm Kingdoms 2, which I've done tour videos on this very channel for. Then there was Sir Albie and the Succession Wars team for giving us even more custom Heroes 2-like graphics from their amazing Total Conversion mod for Heroes 3 that converts its graphics to more of a Heroes 2 style and adds new units and entirely new factions to the game. And lastly, there's all the awesome guys at the Civ Fanatics forums, Civ 2 Scenario League community for all the help and advice on all the many technical issues we faced making this mod. And so naturally, I'll have links to all these things in the video description below. So let's get things started. Now, as you can see by me going into the start a new game sequence, we've managed to get into all of Civ 2's graphic DLL files and config files, replacing heaps of the interface graphics and text, homifying everything. Now you can start a new game with our mod installed. However, I strongly suggest you follow the instructions in our readme, otherwise our events won't work, which set up the factions and their units and their technologies, which as you can see here, without that, the build options are all messed up and not working. So in short, new games will need to be saved as a scenario, reloaded and played for 3 turns, and then everything should start working. However, we actually recommend you play our included scenario instead, as we've made a beautiful Heroes of Might and Magic style map with many graphical tricks and lots of adventures to be had that you won't see in a random map. And you can play our scenario in 2 different ways, as Civ 2 has an annoying hard-coded issue where the Throne Room and Wonder videos are disabled in scenario mode, while custom events are disabled in the regular Civ sandbox non-scenario mode, we'll call it, which of course we didn't know about at first, so naturally our mod is full of both custom Wonder videos and events. So if you proceed in scenario mode, as I am here, then you can play it, but you'll miss out on some of our best work. So we instead recommend that you load our specially provided save games for each faction's start, where we've already run the critical events that set up the factions and their units, and then used a hex editor to wipe the scenario mode flag out of the settings, which then reactivates the throne room and videos. We didn't set up many late game events, so you're not really missing much. So we really think that using our save games to start your game is the best way to play. You just pick the faction you want and you're good. So now that we're in the game, let's have a look around. Heroes fans might wish to play more zoomed in for a more familiar feel, and as you can see, we've replaced the Civ 2 Fog of War with the Starry Heroes one. And this is the custom throne room replacement I was talking about, where we've made a castle puzzle where you can build your favourite castle type piece by piece. And then since this is the start of the game, it's probably the perfect time to talk about these grumpy guys.
Give me more soldiers, noble leader, that they may sheathe their swords in the beating hearts of our enemies!
Yes, I have replaced the High Council, which as far as I know is the first time any Civ 2 modder has ever done this before.
Excellency, I have calculated the science rate out to the 3rd beat of my abacus, and I am dismayed by what I see.
He speaks the truth, Excellency. Excellency, let us make currency instead of swords, for it is wealth that moves the world, and profit that rules it.
My talents go to waste, noble leader. Let us send forth our explorers to find other nations.
I concur, Your Excellency.
I concur, Excellency.
No complaints, noble leader.
So basically I grabbed a bunch of Heroes 2 hero faces and had to manually make their faces animate frame by frame myself, and then match their talking up with all the Civ 2 Council voice audio. It was a hell of a job. And yes, as you can see, I also did their Anarchy video too.
Who knew this was going to happen? I knew this was going to happen.
There will be no more gods, women will...
Now, as I'm sure people have already figured out, this is the good old Sorceress faction, who occupy fertile grasslands filled with lakes, rivers, and dense magical forests, much like in Heroes of Might and Magic. The forests will give them a bit of a production advantage over the other factions, but those forests will eventually inhibit growth, and they'll have to be cleared to make more farmland, which can take time. The Sorceresses can field multiple flying units, giving them the ability to expand quickly and explore. If they can survive long enough to get to their extra fast top tier Phoenixes, they are deadly. Then next up for the good guys comes the Human Knight faction, who in Heroes normally occupy similar terrain to the Sorceress, but usually with more dirt terrain, so I've done the similar thing in Civ 2 and given them lots of dirt plains terrain. This gives their lands a similar look to the fertile paradise that the Sorceresses have, but clearly those naughty humans have been clearing lots of forests away. As in Heroes, the Knights can grow quickly and some of their units are cheaper than the other factions, but they lack some of the special powers and abilities that the other races get, like flying creatures. Strong growth and overwhelming numbers of their strongest units like the Crusader will be the key to their success. And then lastly for the good guys comes the Wizard faction, who in Heroes of Might and Magic 2 occupy dry, cracked terrain, so naturally they do so in Armod too. Wizard players will need to capitalise on the fertile lands around the rivers until they can irrigate those cracked lands. They have access to flying units and some very powerful units like the Mighty Titan, which has more hit points and firepower than most other units in the game. And in my test game, they were the dominant AI faction. And then if we look at the bad guys, we'll start with the Warlock faction, who just like in Heroes 2, favour the dark volcanic wastelands. These starting lands give them a harder start than the other factions, so they'll need to rely on the fertile riverlands while cultivating the volcanic ones. Where the Warlocks really excel in is powerful flying units, so if they can survive their rough start and establish a good economy, then they'll be able to quickly expand and overwhelm their neighbours. If they survive long enough to reach the deadliest unit in the game, the mighty Black Dragon, then the world will be theirs. They also start quite near the legendary and dangerous Dragon City, which, if conquered, might offer some rewards. Then comes the Barbarian faction, who normally occupied desert and cracked and dirt plains areas in the original Heroes 2. However, since those terrain types are already being used by other factions in Armod, and the Barbarian castle screen has more of a cold tundra look to it, I've given them lands that are a mix of cold snow and damp swamp and dirts and plains, and a bit of grassland too. Similar to the Knights, the Barbarians lack flying units and other special abilities. However, their lands are quite fertile, their units are cheap, so quick growth and a strong economy will allow them to field large numbers of their strongest units like the Cyclops. Then comes the last of the original 6 factions, the evil Necromancers. The Necromancers live in a dark, swampy regions where many an unfortunate soul has wandered into and never returned. While their castle screen looks more volcanic, I felt they'd better suit the swamps on our map due to all its dead trees and graveyards. The Necromancer's starting units are not the strongest, however its lands are quite large, so if they can survive long enough to get to their multiple high-tier flying units, like the Bone Dragon, then they'll be pretty deadly. And then finally, Civ 2 supports 7 factions, so we thought, what can we come up with to fill that slot? So we decided to go with a neutral faction. The neutrals are an alliance of previously unaligned creatures that the other expanding factions have pushed out of their homelands into the hostile desert regions. While seemingly an odd matchup of creatures, they are united in their cause of pushing back against the other factions and reclaiming their homes. The neutrals are in a rather central location on the map, meaning they're surrounded by other factions, which can make them tough to play as. However, if you survive off the fertile rivers and all the oases while you work the lands into something better and start to expand out into the even wilder savage desert lands to the south, then you can build up a large empire that can hold its ground until you gain access to their deadly flying genie. Now this faction was heavily inspired by the Desert Dervish faction that the utterly brilliant Succession Wars mod for Heroes of Might and Magic 3 adds, as we loved how they took the neutral units from Heroes 2 and united them into a proper faction, all with a nice Heroes 2 art style. And their special Anglo-Saxon style hero actually comes from the excellent Palm Kingdoms 2 game. So many thanks to both those teams for their awesome projects and letting us use their stuff for this special bonus race. Now, as I'm sure you guys noticed from those screenshots, we've imported Heroes 2's units and filled Civ 2's unit slots to the max. as we put in every Heroes 2 unit we could, and a few extra ones. Now obviously these are two very different games, but we've done our best to give them different Civ unit special abilities based on the ones they had in Heroes 2, within the limits of the Civ 2 engine. MetroPolis has also put all this together in a special custom fantasy tech tree, and I've given them some custom icons too, so researching this stuff should feel very different to what Civ 2 players are used to. We've also replaced all the city buildings with Heroes Might and Magic universe equivalents from all their different castle screens, and MetroPolis decided to keep the original Civ 2 names in brackets in there, just to help regular Civ players know which is which. And of course, naturally, we couldn't resist replacing all of the wonders too. And yeah, sure enough, it was super tough to think of Heroes equivalents for some of these, hence why you'll see a mix of buildings, artifacts, and spells. And now for the best part, since as mentioned earlier, we have created custom movies for every single wonder using Heroes cutscenes, and if I use the secret Civ 2 cheat menu wonder playing screen, I can now show you some of them. I love it how MetroPolis has cleverly inserted the text into different parts of the videos. And I also like how he's put different Heroes of Might and Magic 2 songs into each Wonder video as well. And I should say MetroPolis gets the credit for all of these Wonder videos. It's brilliant work. Let's see what else is good. Maybe down here. This one. Now, why don't we play a few turns and give you guys a bit of a feel for it. So I'm going to send this ferry down the river so we can find some treasure chests. Ooh, there's one. We'll get that next turn. Now we've also got an elf in the capital, so I might send him out too. Now Civ 2 doesn't really have proper range mechanics like later Civ games have, which made it difficult for us to convert Heroes 2's range units across. So in the end we gave them some other special abilities like extra sight and firepower. So that ensures he's still useful, as you can see a lot more of the surrounding area, which is great for exploring. Now we've got some more sprites in our surrounding villages, and these guys are handy because they are flying units, so they can get around really quickly, allowing us to get to those chests quickly, and this one has given us knowledge and a library. Now over on the other side we've actually got a treasure chest just outside the village, so we don't have to travel far for that. And ooh, we got a creature, a Medusa. Ugh, she's a bit slow and useless, so nothing too exciting there. Now lastly, we may as well set our capital to build a hero, which is the settler replacement in this mod, as obviously you can't really have a hero commanding an army in Civ 2, so we found a way to repurpose them. So we'll end the turn and ooh, here we go. I can show you guys the puzzle selections screen. MetroPolis has designed a lovely thing where you can pick different parts of the puzzle to upgrade. Oh, that one's a very small piece, isn't it? Unfortunately, it's sort of hard to tell. MetroPolis did the best he could, but you know, we're using the original throne room pixel positions. Looks like we can pick our next tech to research, and why not go with buildings? We've got a lovely granary, which is oh so important for early game growth. Alright, now since our elf can't fly, we'll rest down the river and see if we can get a bit further north. No treasure up here. You I'm going to send back east so I can see what's on the eastern frontier. Now we can see what this treasure chest does. Oh, looks like we got more Medusas. How exciting. I guess we'll explore this river down here a bit more. Looks like a nice spot to put a city in, doesn't it? And over here, I'm going to send you south some more. And I don't really know what to do with you because you're slow, so I'll just move you that way. And as you can see, we've got some dangerous, wild sprites there in those old fortresses. I'll have to clear them out at some point, however we'll need something more powerful to break through those forts. Oh, we've got some money from this chest. Now, why don't we see if we can sneak through these two forts, as while our flying units don't use the Civ 2 flying mechanic, otherwise they run out of fuel or health, so we've given them treat all squares as road squares and ignore zones of control, so you can sneak past these guys. It's looking like quite a nice area down here. And ooh, here on the east, look what we have here. We won't be able to get around these guys. It's a water and air elemental. It's looking like a nice area up here in the north as well. But I think I might leave it there, as there's so much more good stuff I want to show you guys, and I don't want this video to go forever, so why don't you play it yourselves and explore around as each race to see what's on the map. So now I'm going to show you guys a mid-game save of mine when I was testing the map out. I'll zoom in to reduce the spoilers a bit and keep everything nice and big and heroes-like. And as you can see, I've been busy colonizing everywhere, making lots of villages, and I'm slowly starting to work the lands with my heroes. And ooh, look at that down there. Got a city of the dead, surrounded by mummies and ghosts and things. There's also a Xanadu and a dragon city elsewhere on the map if you can find them. And if events are turned on, they'll send unpleasant things after you as well. As you can see, I pretty much filled up my whole starting island. I expanded very quickly in this test game. And since we're a bit of a way into it, hopefully I can show you a better looking puzzle now. Yep. As you can see, I've built quite a bit of the Barbarian castle puzzle. Still got to work on that middle area. Now, as mentioned earlier, we've changed all the GUI stuff, so why don't I show you all the advisor backgrounds, starting with the tax screen and city status. And for each one, I picked a nice shot from a Heroes 2 cutscene to use. And I always tried to pick a situation-appropriate background. So, of course, our defense minister is a battlefield, and our intelligence report is a bit of a, cloak and dagger bribe thing. Attitude is a bunch of unhappy people being marched into a castle. Trade is a dragon hoarding over treasure. Science is a cool medieval library. You can see I've built a few wonders of the world. I'm pretty much owning the top 5 cities already. Beautiful shipwreck shot on the score. Another nice castle shot for the demographics, and I'm pretty much owning most stuff there. And lastly, instead of using shortcut keys, I'll show you that it no longer says spaceship, does it? And the Azure dragon breeding has not yet begun. I'll show you guys that one in a minute with another save. But first, now that we've been building a few buildings, why don't I show you guys another feature we've implemented. We've been playing with the city sky view screen, and you can see some of our wonders on pedestals and some other heroes buildings popping up too, as Metro has pretty much painstakingly replaced all the Civ 2 city buildings and wonders in that view. So we'll have to find a busier city later. But now for another part we're quite proud of, and that is that we changed the full diplomacy screen. And not just the background, but also the 3D video heralds as well. And using their Heroes 2 battle animations, Metro has fully animated these guys. You can see they fly when they're happy, and if I try to make him angry, he breathes fire. And these guys are scared of me, so why don't I try another one, which I'll need cheat mode on to see them, as I quite like the wizard one too. As we've done Archibald, so why not his brother Roland with a mighty titan? These guys are scared of me as well. So I can't quite make him angry, but I can make him do it, was it dapping or whatever they call it? And yeah, as you can guess, all 7 factions have animating heralds for them, which is just super cool, as I'm pretty sure we're the only ones who've ever replaced them in Civ 2 modding before. Now I've loaded a late game save here, just as we're launching our Azure dragon, and as you can see, I'm heavily built up now. My villages are all castles, the lands have all been converted to farms. You can see all our farms are sort of made out of a little bit of Civ stuff and a little bit of hero stuff too, as that's a peasant hut. So let's see what our High Council thinks these days.
Let love and wine their rights maintain. No complaints, sire, and their united pleasure.
Yep, they are much happier these days, aren't they?
All the world marvels at our superior intellect, sire.
And these ones are the medieval replacements. And I also did the modern too.
We are rich, sire! Rich, rich, rich!
As unfortunately the texts that unlock some extra castle graphic slots also decide what High Council you get.
and exploit the spoils of their intellect.
I disagree.
So I had to change them all, and it took me forever.
The people rejoice, sire. Long live your majesty, the king.
I agree, sire.
I agree, sire.
So yep, they're all happy. So why don't we go visit the capital again? I think things will be looking much more busier. As you can see, it's heavily defended and it's got all the buildings and all the wonders built. And if I head over to the build options, you can see the 3 different Azure Dragon building options that replace the spaceship parts. And if we go and view the city again, as you can see, we got a whole lot of wonders in here. Most of which are on little pedestals, which I quite like. I think that used to be the Colossus pedestal that MetroPolis used. Got a few buildings, but obviously wonders have taken up most spots. So perhaps if I head over and we have a look at one of the seaside cities, I should be able to show you guys a few more buildings and some nice harbour stuff. Yeah, this is pretty good. And those with a keen eye may have noticed by now that I found a way to implement custom font colours in Civ 2. So that's why you're seeing gold, yellow text around different places. Now, at this stage in the game, I had built all the pieces required to finish a big, powerful Azure Dragon. Now, for those Die-Hard Heroes fans watching this thinking, hang on a second, there were no Azure Dragons in Heroes 2. Why has he pulled something out of Heroes 3? Well, originally this was just a black dragon that was taken from the Game of Thrones mod by Matt, and it just sort of seemed silly that, you know, the Warlock faction was building regular black dragons, and yet anyone could just build this other black dragon and somehow win the game. So I was like, what can I do to make this different and seem like some sort of super dragon? And Heroes 2 did have a Dragon King, but it was just sort of a regular green looking dragon. So I then remembered the mighty Azure Dragon in Heroes 3. So I took that, and this dragon will actually start off as an egg and then hatch and then grow up into this big one as you continue to build parts for it. And of course, if I'm gonna replace the spaceship with a dragon, I'm gonna need to replace the videos too. And in this case, of course, I wanted to really stick with Heroes 2, but all the Heroes 2 cutscenes have green dragons in them, so I had to learn how to do video recoloring for all these bits, which was not easy if you've never done it before. And it was mega tricky making sure that only the dragon turned blue and other parts didn't. And you can see in some areas I just had to give up and just let some of the other greens change color too, as the dragons were just moving around the whole video area. And I also couldn't find a way to separate the Heroes 2 video narrator voice from the footage either, so I had to basically recreate my own audio for that using Heroes 2 in-game sounds and music. But yeah, I'm pretty proud of the work, and as you can see, he's flying off into space. So let's load my final endgame save, where I can show you guys the Dragon Victory videos I made too. However, before that, I want to show you guys something special that I put together. As I'm guessing some of you, in particular Heroes of Might and Magic fans, might be thinking that map is way too crowded. I don't like all those crazy bunched up farms. And this is actually an area that MetroPolis and I had a difference of opinion on, in that he wanted less cluttered Heroes of Might and Magic-like decoration, and he also wanted more obvious units with the coloured selection borders that they have on the battle screen. So as you can see, I have included his old files and updated them to the latest version so they will work with it. And as you can see, it's much less cluttered and the units are much more obvious. And you can always mix and match, like his units with my terrain or his terrain and my units, if you wish. We'll be providing both for you guys. But I'm going to put it back to my way for now. Is the reason I went my way is because as a kid I always dreamed of, you know, working the lands and building farms around my castle, so I just couldn't resist using full-blown Civ 2 farm graphics. And I don't want to spoil too much, but I want to show you guys that it also helps quite a bit when zoomed out to standard view as well. But through the magic of video editing, I'm going to turn mine back on again. But next, why don't we have some fun? And I go and attack someone. As you can see, we've got some nice top-tier Sorceress unit phoenixes guarding our empire, and I've made nice custom sounds for all the top-tier units. Some of the lower ones I couldn't customize because of the way Civ 2 is designed. However, if I ever do a future Test of Time version, I'll be able to do separate sounds for everyone. Of course, I'm stinking rich, so my rogue thief can pretty much buy anything, including entire castles. As yeah, revolt is what I want, I think. Yeah, there we go. got lots of things, including a magic arrow, so that's handy. Oh, and it looks like the ghosts of the fallen have risen up to try and take their city back. Now, magic arrows and Armageddon spells do actually use the Civ 2 flight mechanic, so they can actually fly around the map and do quite a bit of damage to people, but of course are one use only. So put this catapult to use. Got some pikemen too. I can see we've got some archers given to us around the outside of the city too, so I may as well throw them at it. May as well charge them in as well. Ooh, I actually won. There's that extra firepower the range units get helping them. Anyway, why don't I reload the save where I'm not causing complete carnage. And oh, and speaking of carnage, I forgot to do one more nasty thing and drop a nuke. Or should I say cast the Armageddon spell. So I'll move this guy across and we'll go say hello to the neutrals over here. Boom! We've even homified the pollution too. Very nice. Okay, now I can reload the final save and show you guys a finished puzzle. I think I finished it. Yeah, here we go. No, look at that. Nice Sorceress castle, and all the pieces have been put together. Very nice, MetroPolis. Good job on that one. And just as a reminder, I'll load up our Azure Dragon and can show you guys that he's due in 1878 AD, so it should arrive next turn. And here we go. And oh man, it took me ages to find this text in the game files and change it. And obviously, you know, it talks about a spaceship landing full of colonists and things. So I thought, what am I going to do with that? And so I decided to go with the story that, you know, these dragons are so massive that they can literally carry armies on their backs and stuff, you know. And as you can see, I've put together some more Heroes 2 cutscenes with the bluified dragons. And some nice music thrown in too. And of course, once again, I had to replace all the sound effects myself too. Go. Fortunately, no matter what, I couldn't seem to stop that glitch at the end, sadly. It's just something with the video converter. And as you can see here, I absolutely dominated. Got a big score too, with all our lovely custom citizens showing there, using little heroes' faces. That was MetroPolis again, I think, who did that part. Now, of course, we didn't stop there with replacing videos, as there's also the military victory video. And to show you guys that one, I need a game where I killed everyone, and the last time I did that was in my special Barbarian game, where I found a way using some tricks and hacks and cheats and things to take control of the 8th Barbarian faction slot in Civ 2, similar to how I did it in Civ 1. And I've done a whole video on that if you guys want to check out how I did that. And I've even provided a scenario that you guys can play as well. And but I'm going to use that save game here, as it's pretty much the only save game I have from lately that can trigger this sequence. I just had to kill some final towns and put a whole lot of my army to sleep, so I'm just sort of fast forwarding through some of this. And here we go, here we go. One of the cool similarities between Heroes of Might and Magic and Civ is that they both had a guillotine sequence, although it's actually Heroes 1 that has the guillotine sequence. So I just couldn't resist putting that in here. And you can also see more custom leader faces here, like you saw on the diplomacy screen, as we've replaced all of them. I mean, there's 7 Civ slots, 3 civs per slot, so that's 21 civs. Each of them have a male and a female leader, so that's 42 leaders that we've replaced. And while most of them are with their factions that they were in Heroes, we did notice there were uneven numbers in Heroes for the different factions, so we actually had to swap a few people around, especially because we have our extra neutral faction and we needed to give them some heroes. So a lot of those cool looking add-on pack heroes went to them. Oh, and obviously because this is a different save game, you're not seeing the Heroes of Might and Magic faction names, you're getting, you know, all the Civ faction names. So sorry about that, but it was the only, like I said, it was the only save I had, and it's I really wanted to show you the sequence. And then for the victory screen, we've got the traditional shot where I haven't made the dragon blue, as I still want to keep that in just for the hell of it. And then of course the scorecraft's all messed up because I played as barbarians. And last of all, I'm thinking, how about I show you the death video as well. And to do that, we'll need to start a new game again, and just get through this as quick as I can. And if I delete my 2 starting wizard heroes and end the turn, that should trigger the sequence. Yeah, here we go. Now this one MetroPolis did, and it's just a quick, simple one. And I don't think we changed the text either, because it was just, I don't know, it seemed fine. But I quite like it. As for those Heroes 2 purists who were not happy about me using the Heroes 1 guillotine earlier, well, here we go. This is the Heroes 2 death sequence when you actually lose in that game. So we've brought it across to here. And you're in a crow's cage, which always makes me think of Willow. And then we transition to the battlefield that was in the Heroes 2 add-on intro, which then transitions perfectly to the score thing. And you'll think we did that deliberately, but that's actually a complete accident. But it looks quite good, doesn't it? How it transitions into the same image like that. So yeah, that's pretty much everything I wanted to show you with this massive mod of ours. And I hope, even though we're 25 years or whatever too late, I hope some people still go and try it out for fun. And while this would be the end of the video, I actually want to show you guys a little something else we've been working on relating to this, and also discuss our future plans, as I have been working on a special add-on for this mod based on, if you can't already tell, Heroes of Might and Magic 1. Yes, I decided to make a bonus mod, as I still have so much love for the first Heroes game and couldn't resist importing its assets into our mod too. So this is basically almost a total conversion mod for a total conversion mod. And once again, as you can see, I've changed all the DLL background images during the game start sequence with as many appropriate pictures as possible, which is a bit harder with Heroes 1 due to its lack of cutscenes. I've also changed the GUI again with a nice wooden background with the jewel snakes and golden edges that Heroes 1 players will remember. And now that we've started a new game, if I kill this settler and end the turn, and then skip through all the usual text, you'll see that yes, I just had to use that Heroes 1 death sequence here. However, that's it for cutscene changes though, and I've left all the other videos you've seen as the original Heroes 2 ones, as like I said, there's just not enough cutscenes in Heroes 1 to take things from. And if I load up the Night Start save game, we can now see the new GUI in all its full glory, and we can see the Night Castles using the Heroes 1 graphics and Night units from Heroes 1. If I go into the city, you can see we've got Heroes 1 city backgrounds too. And yes, I've done a different one for each of the Heroes 1 factions, of course. And we've got Heroes 1 buildings too, which I'll show you more of later. And of course, I've changed a lot of the terrain to be Heroes 1 style as well, which is probably best shown in some special screenshots I've done up that shows all the different changed cities, units, and terrain between the Heroes 2 mod and the Heroes 1 Addon mod. I'm particularly proud of the Heroes 1 castle and forest replacements, as they were definitely the hardest thing to do. Now, to better show off the last of the changes, I'll load up my mid-game Sorceress save game, as save games will work just fine between the Heroes 2 mod and the Heroes 1 Addon mod. And now you can see even more of the terrain changes, including the new deserts. You'll also notice there's still plenty of Heroes 2 terrain and some of the factions as well, as obviously Heroes 1 had less content than Heroes 2, so I didn't have suitable replacements. And removing them entirely would have been a huge amount of work and destroyed that cross-compatibility I mentioned. So hopefully Heroes 1 purists would forgive me. But everything from Heroes 1 is here, and so of course, if I changed all the other backgrounds, naturally I've done the advisor backgrounds too. I've done the Taxus screen, the Kingdom screen, the Defense Minister screen, the Intelligence screen. I couldn't resist using that image again, as I just love that purple battle loss sequence animation from Heroes 1. Guillotines are always good for attitude problems. And then I think I just went with sections of the castle screens for the trade and science advisors and the wonders and top cities. And then some nice kingdom-ish themed shots for the rest. And of course the whole Azure Dragon spaceship replacement thing is unchanged, as there's even less dragons in Heroes 1 than there are in Heroes 2. Now to finish up, I'll pop into the Civilopedia and show you guys all the lovely Heroes 1 buildings I've put in, replacing every single one of them except for the Azure Dragons, which was once again very tough as there's less buildings in Heroes 1 than in Heroes 2, but I eventually found equivalents for all of them. And then if I go into the units, you can see all the Heroes 1 units I've inserted into the mod, and obviously as previously warned, the Wizard and Necromancer Heroes 2 races are unchanged, so all their stuff is still there, but almost everything else has been switched to Heroes 1 style. So there you go guys, that's the Heroes 1 add-on to the Heroes 2 mod for Civ 2. And as for other future plans, I've been asked a number of times about a Civ 2 Test of Time enhanced conversion of the scenario, and the answer is yes, I am planning on doing that. And so as you can see here, I've already done a whole bunch of graphical experiments and constructed a whole new custom GUI interface for Test of Time based on the Heroes of Might and Magic designs I'd already done. And one of Test of Time's many advantages over Civ 2 is that it also supports much larger building pictures in the Civilopedia. So as you can see, I've already experimented and put a nice big barracks picture in there. Now there's some downsides that you lose the High Council and Diplomacy Herald video characters, sadly. But other than that, pretty much everything else is a positive gain, as Test of Time gives you access to the 7th city design slot. So as you can see at the top of the picture, Merrimack, the neutral race, actually has its proper city image. And of course the big one is that Test of Time supports unit and terrain animations, which means I could do some crazy stuff, as I've already got all the extracted animation frames from Heroes 2 and Heroes 1. But that's a lot of work though, so no promises on that final part. But at the very least, I'll have a straight conversion with a few improvements. And once that's all finished and out there, I'll do a separate video on that version of the mod on a later date. Now lastly, I want to say that this Heroes mod was my big return to Civ 2 modding, and it wasn't long before I started coming up with other ideas that I couldn't resist doing, and putting all the new skills I'd learned from MetroPolis to good use on those new ideas. So I went on and did a CNC scenario set in the dark Tiberium universe, and then I attempted something even more hardcore and did a Red Alert 2 Siege of New York scenario with massive destructible skyscrapers with garrisons inside of them that Civ 2 fans will certainly not be used to seeing. And I'm also currently working on a Dune 2 scenario as well, which I hope to reveal more of in the future. And in between these big projects, I've also been working on a whole bunch of mini total conversion projects of other people's scenarios, such as Terminator, Civ 1, Warcraft, and Starcraft, my old Star Wars scenario, the Barbarian Conquest scenarios I mentioned earlier, a better terrain graphics mod for regular vanilla Civ 2 games, PlayStation graphics mod, Test of Time back converted graphics, and many other little ones for Civ 2 as well. There's even a Master of Magic scenario for Test of Time I've been working on and off on too. And I hope to convert some of these other ones over to Test of Time as well. And on top of all of that, I've been working on a huge preservation project rescuing thousands of other people's Civ 2 mods that have been lost over the decades. So if you want more info on all this stuff, make sure you check out my main Civ 2 HD tour episode that this video is a bonus to. Oh, and like I said earlier, I'm also going to do big tours on Heroes of Might and Magic mods for other Civ games, as Tom's ones for Civ 3 in particular are just amazing, as this is all part of a huge video series I'm doing where I'm looking at each Civ game, how to play them in HD, and checking out their best total conversion mods and scenarios, and not just the regular Civ games, but also all the great spin-offs like Colonization, Master of Magic, Alpha Centauri, Call to Power, I'm also going to try and play as the Barbarian faction in all of these games via hacks or cheats. I'll also be looking at great fan games out there like Free Civ and Free Col. And like I said earlier, I'll be looking at all their best total conversion mods, as well as showcasing some of my own mods for them. So yeah, there's lots coming. So stay tuned, guys. See you next time. Bye.